Hello, and welcome to Christopher's Weekly History Topics. This is going to be another late week again. This is for week 39, the week of May 25th to the 31st. Okay, for this one, I'm doing the Aleutian Islands campaign. This happened during World War II. Some people know about this. It's not well known about this. During World War II, a lot of people think that the United States was only invaded once, which is December 7th, 1941. That's not true. The United States was successfully invaded twice during World War II. First at Pearl Harbor, December 1941, and the next is in June of 1942. From June of 1942 to July of 1943, a small Japanese force invades the Aleutian Islands, the Alaskan territory. Remember, at this time in 1942, Alaska is not a state yet, so it's still a territory. So in June 1942, oddly enough, the day in which 2 days later would be known as D-Day, that's when they invade the Alaskan islands of, I have the pronunciation right here, Attu and Kiska. Those are the two Alaskan islands that they invade. They don't invade all of the Aleutian Islands, they invade just those two islands. They successfully invade them. The Japanese force that invades these islands off the coast of Alaska, they're not very big. You know, with Pearl Harbor, you had like a big Japanese force that bombarded, the harbor and stuff like that. With the Aleutian Islands, the invasion of the Aleutian Islands, you don't have Japanese bomber planes coming in and destroying the islands. You actually have a ground force of Japanese army forces, of military forces, going in and capturing these islands and occupying them. The only thing is, the invasion wasn't really that much of a big battle, which is why I think that this kind of gets looked over sometimes in World War II history. The Japanese forces easily, they use 500 Japanese Imperial soldiers to invade these two islands off the coast of Alaska, and they're met to very little or no resistance whatsoever. And they easily occupy these two islands from when they invaded, which is June 6, 1942, and up to basically over a year, July 28th, 1943. And the funny thing is, not funny, but the ironic thing is, the Japanese commander who was in charge of this invasion force to occupy the Aleutian Islands off Alaska, he was the same commander who ordered the attack on Pearl Harbor. I have his name right here. I can try to pronounce it. Isoroku Yamamoto. He was the same one who ordered the attack on Pearl Harbor. So anyway, they invade on June 6, like I said before. There's not that much resistance, and by the next day, July 7th, 1942, they have the two Aleutian Islands, Attu and Kiska, under their complete control. There was now, don't get me wrong, they did have some force to deal with on the islands. It's not like they went to the islands and, since no one was there, they just stuck an Imperial flag in it. No, that's not true. They did have some resistance, but very little. On the Aleutian Islands, the U.S. Defense Military was mainly made up of Alaskan natives. There weren't many like U.S. Army forces there. The only force protecting the island was this defense force of Alaskan natives, like Inuit and other small tribes. Um, However, that they didn't. Even though they fought good, the Japanese still got the islands. Um, these islands weren't that important to the Japanese, even though they secured them for over a year. Um, in fact, they eventually, by later, um, yeah, by next year, the year after they invaded, they actually abandoned the island. In fact, on August 15th, 1943, over 34,000 Allied troops land on one of the islands. I think it was Kiska they landed on, and they went to fight the Japanese and take back these islands. Uh, the only thing is, once the Allied force landed on Kiska, they found out that the island was abandoned, and there were no Japanese forces to be seen. They went to the Ever Island, and there were also no Japanese forces there. So, sometime between June 1942 and August 1943, well, actually, it was really July 28th, 1943, when the Japanese forces stopped their occupation of the Aleutian Islands and left back to Japan. So by the time the U.S. forces gathered up to go secure the islands back, they found that the Japanese were gone. This was the second successful invasion of the United States in World War II history. And it's also one of those things that you don't really hear that much in history classes. Like, maybe if you took, like, a World War II history course, maybe they would go over this, but if you're taking, like, a basic, U.S. History 2 course or 20th Century American History course, you might not touch upon this. So anyway, that's basically it for that week, and goodbye. Oh wait, one more thing. No, wait, now I'll say it next week. Never mind.